The night had a silence that seemed almost too deliberate, as if the darkness outside my window was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I lay in bed, restless, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me. The blades cut through the still air, creating a faint humming sound that should have been comforting, but instead felt unnerving. The shadows of the branches outside stretched across my walls like skeletal hands, shifting whenever the wind pushed them. I pulled the blanket tighter around me, trying to fight off the unease that had crept into my bones over the last few nights. It all began with whispers. At first, I thought they were dreams. I would wake up in the middle of the night, my heart racing, certain that someone had just spoken into my ear. The voice was faint, like the sigh of air escaping between cracks in a wall. I couldn't make out words, only the rhythm of speech, sometimes hurried, sometimes soft and drawn out. My husband, Daniel, never heard them. He slept peacefully beside me, his chest rising and falling steadily, completely untouched by the creeping dread that woke me night after night. I told myself it was stress. Work had been overwhelming, and maybe my mind was playing tricks. But when the whispers grew louder, echoing inside the stillness of the house, I knew this was more than imagination. They always came between 2 and 3 in the morning, the hour people often called the devil's hour. At first, they drifted like passing thoughts, but soon they began to form words I couldn't ignore. Get out. The first time I heard it clearly, I sat bolt upright in bed, my skin prickling. The voice had been low, raspy, and undeniably real. I looked at Daniel, but he slept on, oblivious. I turned on the bedside lamp, flooding the room with yellow light, but nothing was there. The house remained quiet, the kind of quiet that rang in my ears. I barely slept for the rest of the night. Over the following days, the whispers didn't stop. They grew bolder, closer, and sometimes angry. Once, I heard a sharp hiss. Leave him. Another time, a guttural growl. You can't escape. I started to dread the nights. I would go to bed later and later, waiting for exhaustion to drag me into sleep, but it never kept the whispers away. Daniel noticed I was unraveling. You're pale, Eliza. Are you okay? He asked one morning as I sat at the kitchen table, staring into my untouched cup of coffee. I wanted to tell him everything, but the words stuck in my throat. He was logical, grounded. He'd never believe me. I just forced a weak smile. I'm fine. Just tired. But I wasn't fine. The house itself began to feel different. During the day, it looked ordinary. Sunlight pouring through the curtains, the faint scent of lavender from the diffuser in the living room. But at night, the walls seemed to pulse with unseen life. The shadows lingered too long, corners seemed darker, and the silence between the whispers became oppressive. I started hearing faint footsteps in the hallway, soft creaks on the stairs when no one was there. One night, I gathered the courage to confront it. I stayed awake deliberately, sitting in bed with a lamp on and my phone in hand, ready to record. At 2:47 a.m., the air in the room grew colder, a chill that seeped into my bones. My breath fogged slightly, as if the temperature had dropped below freezing. Then came the whisper. Eliza. My blood ran cold. It had spoken my name. The voice was female this time, trembling but desperate, as though she was trying to warn me. I fumbled with my phone, hitting the record button, whispering back. Who are you? What do you want? The room fell silent for a moment. Then, in a hiss that rattled through the walls, the voice answered. He isn't who you think he is. I froze, my heart hammering. My eyes darted to Daniel, who lay sound asleep, his face calm. The words echoed in my mind long after the whisper faded. What did she mean? The following day, I tried to convince myself it was all in my head. But then I checked my phone. The recording was there. I pressed play, my hands trembling. Static filled the first few seconds, then faintly, so faintly I could barely believe it. I heard my name being whispered. My stomach dropped. It was real. The more I listened, the more I realized the voice wasn't just warning me. It was pleading. But pleading for what? And from whom? That evening, I confronted Daniel. Have you ever heard anything strange at night? I asked cautiously. He looked at me with concern. What do you mean? Like whispers, voices, anything. He chuckled softly, but when he saw my serious expression, his smile faded.
No.
But you look like you're not sleeping at all, Eliza. Maybe you should see someone, a doctor, maybe? I swallowed hard. He didn't believe me. And yet, the unease in his eyes told me something else. Something he wasn't saying. That night, the whispers came louder than ever before. They didn't just speak, they screamed. I clamped my hands over my ears, tears streaming down my face as the voices overlapped. Some begged, some threatened, and one voice kept repeating the same phrase over and over. In the cellar, in the cellar, in the cellar. I had almost forgotten about the cellar. We rarely went down there. It was damp, unfinished, with nothing but old furniture and boxes. But as the voices chanted relentlessly, I knew I had no choice. I had to see what was down there. The next evening, when Daniel left for a late meeting, I took the keys and unlocked the cellar door. A wave of cold, musty air hit me as I stepped onto the creaking wooden stairs. The light flickered when I pulled the chain, casting the narrow space into trembling shadows. Dust hung in the air, swirling with every step I took. At first, everything seemed normal, just boxes stacked high, old tools, a broken chair. But then I noticed a section of the wall that looked different. The bricks were newer, lighter in color, as though they had been replaced more recently than the rest. My stomach twisted. With trembling hands, I pushed against them. To my shock, one of the bricks loosened, sliding slightly out of place. Inside was a hollow space. And within that hollow space, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A diary. Its cover was worn, the leather cracked, but it was unmistakably a diary. I pulled it out, brushing away dust, and opened the first page. My breath caught as I read the name scrawled inside. Anna.
Anna.
The name meant nothing to me at first, but as I flipped through the pages, a story began to unravel, a story that made my hands shake uncontrollably. Anna had lived in this house before us. She wrote about her love, her devotion, and her fear. She wrote about a man she trusted who became controlling, manipulative, dangerous. She wrote about whispers that haunted her at night. And then, the entries grew darker, more frantic. The last page was smeared with tears, or maybe blood. The final entry read, "If anyone finds this, please know he killed me. He buried the truth beneath these walls. He isn't who he pretends to be. Don't trust him." My heart pounded so loudly I could barely breathe. Who was he? At that moment, I heard the cellar door creak open. My head snapped up. Daniel stood at the top of the stairs, his face hidden in the shadows. "What are you doing down there, Eliza?" His voice was calm, too calm. I clutched the diary to my chest. "Who was Anna?" I demanded. For a moment, he didn't answer. Then he descended the stairs slowly, each step echoing like a drumbeat. When he reached me, his eyes glimmered strangely in the flickering light. "You shouldn't have found that," he whispered. The air around me grew unbearably heavy. The whispers returned, swirling through the cellar, louder than ever before, crying out warnings, screams, pleas. The voices of the damned filled the space, all echoing the same desperate truth. Run. And in that moment, I realized the whispers hadn't been haunting me. They had been protecting me, warning me. I don't remember exactly how I got out of the cellar that night. Everything was a blur of screams, shattering glass, and running barefoot into the cold night air. But I do remember the feeling of the diary pressed against my chest and the whispers guiding me into the darkness. Even now, as I sit far away from that house, I still hear them sometimes, at night, when the world is quiet. Their voices carry through the silence, reminding me of the secrets buried in those walls. Reminding me that evil doesn't always come from the shadows. Sometimes, it sleeps right beside you. And the whispers? They never really stop. They are the untold truths of the night. The night whispers untold.